DraftKings first, 9K and above range. Obviously, a pretty stacked field. Really good names up here. Going to be tough. Listen, I think and Fleener talked about the weather, which could definitely change. I think that is something we need to talk through. Number one, we're recording this on a Monday night. We don't know the tee time waves yet, which is always critical here, even when the weather is great, because you have the South Course and the North Course. Now, he talked about the North Course playing tougher. And we have seen since the renovation on the North Course, it play a little tougher. But even if you go back and look last year, the North Course still played about 2.5 to 3 shots easier last year by stroke average. So it's still an advantage to be on the North Course. So depending on how the weather shakes out, pay attention to that. I tend to believe that most players would rather play the easier course when the weather is at its best, so they can go out and get those birdies. When the weather sucks and everybody's going to be out on the course grinding and making pars and that's easier to get in that mind frame, that mindset on the tougher course on the South. But you got to make your birdies to get through the cut line and get to Saturday. So full field, 36-hole cut. Weather's going to be a big deal, so pay attention. I think in terms of betting, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Pat, do you have anything else to add in terms of kind of course selection and tee time waves and stuff?
No, I think you're right. I think you got to pay attention to the weather. You got to pay attention to tee times, and things like that, and where these guys are going to be, which course, which day. I think that's definitely important to look at. I think this course really more so than almost, or these two more so than almost any other that we see courses on tour.
Yeah. I did forget, this is random. I did forget to shout out our Nut Hut League listener, Nut Hut Listener League, who won last week. It's Calaboose. I don't know his name, but he actually is his first time playing in the Nut Hut. I guess he's a new member. First time playing in the Listener League. He won it, scored 586 points. Shout out. You have now been, you're now entered into the finals with a chance to come play golf with me and Pat in Augusta, Georgia. So shout out to Calaboose. Good job. Good lineup. I think one thing to look at too this week for me, there's a handful of notable names playing this week that we've not seen in 2021. They haven't played on the PGA Tour. They didn't play in the Abu Dhabi last week on the European Tour. And I think that's got to be kind of tough to show up to Torrey Pines, which historically the South Course is one of the toughest courses on the PGA Tour rotation year in and year out. It's got to be a tall task to show up to Torrey Pines in your first event and kind of shake the rust off. You got a lot of guys with new clubs, new coaches. We heard about Brooks fired Claude Harmon after the Masters, apparently. We heard about that today. We heard about Jason Day's new coach. We got Jason Day with a new bag of clubs. You got all these variables, and to see these guys come out on their first event in 2021, I think that's kind of a tall order, and you might be able to pick up on my picks. I'll be fading a lot of those guys. So let's start in the 9K and above range. We're going to give you 3 GPP plays or tournament plays and a fade. Now, obviously, we talk about it every week. Ownership is also a big deal because a lot of things are going to change once the tee time waves come out. People start looking at weather, and there's obviously a lot of talent in this 9K range. So don't be afraid to pivot and find the low-owned leverage if you're playing in large tournaments. But Pat, I'm going to let you start us off in the 9K and above range with your tournament plays and your fade.
Yeah. All right. Good. I appreciate you letting me start, DB. Thank you.
Of course, buddy.
And I'm going to start with Tony Finau at 10-7. I like him this week in my tournaments. I know he's coming off of that disappointing finish last week, but still, you look at his form. I mean, it's right there. The stats certainly show up well here. I mean, he's 10th in the field in strokes gained approach. He's 11th in driving distance, 27th off the tee, 14th around the greens, checks the box in par 5 scoring. The only thing that where he really, he's traditionally a pretty good putter, not necessarily on POA greens, but still, I like some Tony Finau at 10-7. And then I'm going to drop down to Harris English at 9,800 this week. I absolutely love him. We've seen him play well here. He lost here in a playoff back in 2015, and he's in fantastic form. Now, the driving distance does worry me a little bit here, but still, everything else about Harris English's game, you talk about his ball striking, he's still 14th off the tee. checks the box in scrambling, very accurate off the tee as well, and putts well on POA greens. So I do like some Harris English at 9,800. Now, that could be a little bit chalky. We'll see, but I'll eat it if it is. And so that will be my second GPP play. Now, this next guy, I usually like to leave for you, DB, but I'm not going to leave him for you. I'm going to take him from you, and that is Hideki Matsuyama at 9,200. Look, I love the price there. I think that's fantastic. You look at his history here. He's played extremely well in this course, has been in pretty good form also. The box checking machine here. So I'm a big fan of playing Hideki and GPPs. Now, I'll be interested to see what the ownership's like, but there's a lot of guys that people can be on in this range, so it might spread it out for sure.
I want to be on him.
Yeah. So those are my 3 GPP plays. Now, my fade is a guy I think a ton of people are going to play. I think his ownership is going to be way up there, which is one of the reasons I'm fading him. But he does not have very good course history here. Now, everything else is fantastic. His game is perfect for this course, but he just hasn't seemed to play well here. I'm sure you can guess who it is, and that is Xander Schauffele. He will be my fade right there at 10-4. Now, I was bold last week, and I'm going to continue to be bold, and my fade was terrible last week. So if you're going to run with that, which was Cantlay last week, I just go ahead and admit it, then just don't even follow me here. But I think, we're definitely going to see some high ownership from Xander. Haven't seen him play well on this course over the last 5 years. I think he's only made one cut. So I will make Xander the bold fade.
Okay. I'll make this quick. I did have Decky circled. Now, I get made fun of for being a Decky homer, but I will say I shocked the world when I came out on the first tournament of 2021 at the Century Tournament of Champions and did not mention his name. Didn't mention him. And what'd he do? He finished almost dead last. Okay. Then he came out at the Sony, finished T19. That's pretty good. He shook the rust off at the Century, did his thing at the Sony, but he's played well here. So I did something similar to what I did last week with multiple courses. I went and looked at the last 3 years, actually last 3 years. Last 4, because since 2017. So I looked since 2017, strokes gained, ball striking, strokes gained, putting on only Torrey Pines South to see how these guys play on Torrey Pines South. Data Golf did show and did mention this week that this is a course where course history tends to matter more than others. It's up there with like Bay Hill and TPC Scottsdale and approaching Augusta National territory in terms of their course history and kind of how they evaluate it. So I do think course history matters here at Torrey. I think experience matters at Torrey. Hideki's got plenty of it, and he's pretty solid in terms of ball striking. And guess what? He actually putts well here. This is going to shock the pants off of everybody. In this entire field, since 2017, he is 17th in this field in strokes gained putting on Torrey Pines South. So, I mean, can you imagine if he putted in the top half of this field this week? He's going to run away with it. And we haven't seen him win in 4 years, but we're seeing guys like Siwoo. We're seeing guys like Stuart Sink won last year. Like, it could happen. I'm all in on Decky for sure. Also, I'm all in with you on Finau. I kind of like paying up and playing a little studs and duds this week. I'm not really digging the mid-range as much. So I'm going to go with Finau and Rahm up top. I'm going to play Rombo. Maybe the withdrawal last week will throw some people off. He basically just mentioned it was a little stiff on him. He wanted to take it easy, and he feels fine. So I don't think Rahm is an issue in terms of injury, but I hope it does throw some folks off of him. And like playing Cantlay last week as the highest priced guy, I'm going to play Rahm at the top as your betting favorite too. So Rahm, Finau, Decky for me. My fade is going to be Scotty Scheffler. Now, you could easily go, I'm going to play Scotty, but he missed the cut last week. Everybody's going to be hopping off of him. I'm going to get low ownership. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Here's what I didn't like about Scotty. The irons are not good. His irons have not been good in his first 2 events in 2021. They've not been good at all. And I don't like that. He's tee game and ball striking from the fairways is what he's good at. And even his game off the tee has not been great. It's not been as bad as his irons, but it hasn't been great. I don't love it. He's played here once. He's missed the cut. And I don't know. he's making me not believe right now. So I'm gonna bow out of Scotty Scheffler. All right, let's move to the 8K range. A lot of decisions here in the 8K range. And this is where you got some names that you haven't seen in 2021. It's our first time seeing Bubba. This is our first time seeing Jason Day. First time seeing Will Zalatoris, just for example. So a few of these names that, they're making their first appearance in 2021. And I think that's something to pay attention to. I am actually going to play Siwoo Kim. I think a lot of people are going to avoid Siwoo. I I I don't know, like, he hasn't played fantastic here at the Farmers, but when you look at ball striking on Torrey Pines South, when you look at, putting on POA, it's actually not terrible, and I think people are gonna stay off of him. I think people are gonna avoid him. I'm gonna believe in Siwoo keeping the momentum going, and I think it's a great pivot play, you're gonna have some leverage with Siwoo. And then I'm gonna go to the bottom-ish and play Adam Scott at 8,300. Has played the South Course fantastic in the last 4 years. Ball striking has been incredible, as it always is, but he's also putted pretty good here. Now, his putting at the Sony was so infuriating, I don't even wanna talk about how bad it was. But like Hideki, when you look at strokes gained putting at the South Course over the last 4 years, he's 26th in the field. So something about these greens, about POA, maybe it neutralizes his horrible putting. I don't know, but he's also seventh in that same time frame in the field in ball striking. So obviously, this is a great spot for him to take advantage of the premier iron play. He's long enough off the tee. If he can get comfortable rolling on these greens, I love it. So I'm going to roll with Adam Scott and Siwoo Kim. And the fade is going to be, I got a couple guys in here. I don't love Billy Horschel. I want to talk about Billy Ho. I think he's way overpriced, first of all. And I know he's been playing pretty decent. The form's okay. I think he's overpriced. I don't love the value at all. He's not a long hitter by any means. I mean, he's not super short, but he's definitely not a long hitter. And then, he played well at the Sony, but he gained 8 shots putting. He gained 8 strokes putting at the Sony. 8. That's a lot. And traditionally, according to Fantasy National, he sucks on POA. So I'm going to bow out of Billy Ho at 8,200.
All right. Well, we got a little agreement here, and I'll start with that one. I had Billy Ho also as my fade this week, so we're starting off well here together. We're together here, DB, right now in this category, and also we're together on Adam Scott. He was one of my other GPP plays that I like this week. So for all the same reasons that you said, I think Adam Scott makes a ton of sense here. Also, I think if you're looking at some bets, we'll see how that goes. But I think he makes for a good bet as well. I'm going to play Bubba this week. I'm going to play him. I know you mentioned you don't like the guys that are coming off a little bit of a rust, but look, Bubba has been playing incredibly well. When you look at last season, he plays this course well. He's won here before. I think it was back in 2012 where he won. And one of the things about Bubba is he's like the course history machine to me. Like he has multiple wins on several different courses. And so it's just the ones that kind of suit his eye, and because of his sort of natural ability to play and what he sees on a course, I think for anybody, he is like the guy that when he gets on the course that just fits his eye. I think you just want to play him even more, and you look at the stats though. I mean, he's number 2 in the field in strokes gained approach. He's number 1 in ball striking. This is over the last 24 rounds. 2 off the tee, first in par 5 scoring. I love some Bubba this week, even coming off of a little bit of rust. I think a guy like him, he doesn't have to be in that grind of playing to play well on a course. So I will play Bubba in GPPs at 8,800. So there you go.
Okay. I don't mind the Bubba. I mean, if you're going to go with one that I think you haven't seen in 2021, I like the Bubba play. Obviously, very comfortable here at Torrey Pines. All right, let's get to the 7K range. 3 tournament plays and a fade. I mean, why mess up a good thing with? I'm going to keep with Cam Davis. First of all, Australians love this place. Okay, Aussies play well here. I think the Kikuyu grass is something they're also pretty familiar with. The guy could have won on Sunday. Finished, I think, 2 shots, maybe 3 shots behind Siwoo, but is in great form, and I think the kid is really rounding into it. I love that he got some experience last week coming down the stretch on Sunday. I don't think he's going to win in a field like this, but I think he gives you top 5 upside. He's long. He can score on the par 5s. He's plenty long enough for Torrey Pines, and I love the form. So Cam Davis is a lock for me. I might be a little chalky in this range now that I'm looking at it, but I don't know. I can definitely pivot. I like Jason Kokrak. I'm going to hop back on the Kokrak train. He checks a lot of boxes here as well, in terms of length, in terms of ball striking here at Torrey. He's 11th in the field in the last 4 years in ball striking, and actually top 40 in the field in strokes gained putting at Torrey South in the last 4 years. He's coming off of, a made cut at the Sony, nothing fancy, T35 at the TOC. That's pretty bad. But hopefully, shook the rust off those first 2 tournaments. Got it figured out last week, and now he's back at Torrey Pines, where I know he's going to want to do well. And then a course horse that is kind of a course horse on every course in the West Coast swing. He's made all of his money on the West Coast. That's Charles Howell III, who definitely disappointed last week, you could say, missed the cut, but I think he missed it on the number or near the number, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was 2 under. Cut line was 4 under. But a T19 at the Sony before that, playing well, and has a tremendous record here over the last 4 years. POA is his best surface over his career. He loves POA. And yeah, when you look over the last 4 years, ball striking's great, and he is the number 1 putter in this field, strokes gained putting on Torrey Pines South over the last 4 years. Whole field, he's gained the most strokes of anyone in the field, so he's very comfortable navigating the Torrey Pines South green. So I'm going to go with CH3. And my fade is going to be a guy. Man, I love this guy. I'm going to play this guy a lot this year. You're going to hear his name come out my mouth a lot this year because he's a fantastic man. He's a fantastic Canadian man. But it is his first time playing in 2021. It's Corey Connors. I love Corey Connors. Tremendous ball striker, but he's got a new caddy on the bag. He let go of our boy Kyle Peters for what reason, I'm not sure. Had a tremendous year last year to let Kyle Peters go. Not sure why he did that, but he's got a new caddy on the bag. First tournament of 2021. And in his 3 rounds on the South course over his career, he's 80th in this field in strokes gained ball striking on Torrey Pines South. Now, that's rare for him. Like, that's bad for anybody. That's really bad for Corey Connors because he's one of the best ball strikers on the PGA Tour. He's also known to be a terrible putter. He's falling into the Keegan Hideki, maybe not quite Keegan territory, but like he's falling into the Hideki Adam Scott territory of tremendous ball striker, horrible putter, maddening to watch on ShotLink. But now you get him on POA, where he's actually over his career been 2 times worse putting on POA in terms of strokes gained lost. He's been 2 times worse. Imagine if this were Bermuda and you'd be like, oh God, Corey can't putt though. That's the only thing that's scary. Well, now you're not even on Bermuda. You're on POA, his worst surface. I'm out on Corey Connors this week. I want to wait and see how he looks in terms of the ball striking. And yeah, I'm not buying him.
Let me ask you something. Since you're on this new kick this year with only looking at particular courses and stats on that course, is that like, I don't know if I'm sold on that strategy. I feel like you might limit yourself a little bit too much if you do that because you just don't know what was happening. How many rounds are you looking at?
Well, I mean, I can see that. I can see the number of rounds. So, for example, let's take Corey Connors, who only has 3 rounds. So, yes, very, very small sample size for a guy like Corey Connors. But you look at Charles Howell over the last since 2017, he has 12 rounds. Jason Kokrak, he has 11 rounds. Cam Davis actually has 9 rounds on Torrey Pines South, which is a lot. So, yeah, I mean, sample size is definitely a thing. So for all the stat nerds out there, which you for sure are not, so I can't believe you're calling me out on this, but for all the stat nerds,
I'm not calling you out. I'm just asking you. I'm trying to.
Yeah, and I'm
really think it's a valid point.
I'm really only interested in doing this on these courses with multiple rotations, and this is definitely a new thing I'm trying. I've not really done this lately, but with all these multiple courses, That's just something new I'm trying. Listen, I'm trying a new thing. I'm doing a new thing, trying a new food.
Hey, I'm not hating on you. I'm just challenging you a little bit. I mean, you challenge me,
I
right?
want you to challenge me.
Trying
You made me better, Pat. You made me better. Now give
Yeah,
me your
yeah.
cake.
All right, so here are my 7K picks. I'm gonna start with Gary Woodland. We saw a little flash of some good play from him last week. He's a guy that he's not going to check a lot of boxes if you're looking at the stats. But again, he had a terrible year last year. He came out today, and I don't know if it was him or well, it was him, but I'm not sure. Who put this out there, but he said basically that this is the first time in a while he's been playing without any pain. So I think we might be finally getting the Gary Woodland of a couple years ago back. And now I'll be interested to see whether or not he's chalky this week or not. I don't believe he will be, but I
Oh,
do
you
like
will.
him at 7,800.
Gary Woodland at
So
$7,800, and he played well last week. Oh yeah, he's going to be
I
mega.
mean, 1 week.
It does
Okay. So
matter.
either way,
Now listen, I love the pick. I love Gary Woodland, and I fully endorse. The only reason I didn't play him is because I do think he's going to be uber chalk. I think he's going to be the most. I think he's going to be a top 3 owned player this week.
oh wow. Okay. Well, I mean, maybe he is, but still
Maybe
like him.
depending on the draw, we'll see.
Yeah. Also, I'll drop down to a guy I really like, and this is one of those that's just there's a little bit of a gut play aspect to this, but he is popping from the stats standpoint, and that's Carlos Ortiz at 7,500. Now, a guy we saw play really well back in the fall. He won an event there. He's been in pretty good recent form, but he's great off the tee. He's top 15 in the field there. He checks the box in scrambling, also par 5 scoring. He's top 10, and he's top 10 in putting on POA greens. And, so a guy like Ortiz has just been, who's playing solid, has plenty of distance. I mean, he's in the top third of the field as far as distance off the tee. So I think Carlos Ortiz makes a lot of sense there at 7,500. And I can't imagine that he's going to have a ton of ownership either. Now we all know historically my ownership predictions are quite bad.
Yeah, Mark is just saying that your ownership is not. We just need to not do that.
I'm
That's
trying not to pay attention to this chat tonight because it's just going. It's they're being bad kids tonight, as far as I'm concerned. They need a babysitter. They need a babysitter in the chat. I don't know who that babysitter is because so far nobody in the chat seems to want to take control of the situation that's going on over there. And it's very distracting.
The chat, Pat.
It's very what?
You cannot view the chat if you don't want to.
Yeah, but I like to see what people are saying. Anyway, I'll drop down. Another guy I like. I'm going to go back to Sam Burns. Okay, Sam Burns absolutely killed. He dive bombed my lineups last week.
Bermuda Burns. There ain't no Bermuda grass within 40 clicks of this place, and clicks is a military term. I don't know what it means, but it's a lot of clicks.
I mean, you're throwing out military. Okay, look. This is, he's played pretty well here. Well, I say that. He hasn't played great here. Careful. But I just feel like he played awesome on Friday last week after his terrible round the first day. God, I'm all fired up about Sam Burns because he killed a lot of my lineups last week. But look, he does check a lot of boxes for this course. I think he can play well here. I think he's going to have super low ownership compared to where his, where his odds are, what we saw last week from him. So I like some Sam Burns. I'm going to make a bold call there, and I'm going to go back to the well and play him this week at 7,700. My fade is going to be a guy that everybody loved last week. Everybody, well, I say they loved after last week. And he's all of a sudden he's back. Everything's back to normal. He's a great player again, and that is Francesco Molinari at 7,800. I'm not buying it. I know he had a good week last week, and everybody wants to jump back on him, but I'm not there yet with him. Hasn't played particularly great on this course. Missed 2 cuts in the last 5 years. And I think he's definitely going to get an ownership boost just based off of that, the form he showed last week. But still, I don't think it's a great course for him. So I will be fading Francesco Molinari at 7,800.
He came up in the Nut Hut late on Wednesday night in the chat, and I was pretty hammered, but I'm pretty sure I said I didn't mind him. I don't remember. Also, speaking of Nut Hut, shout out Tim Gaiman for betting me Landry would finish better than Doug Gim. You thought I was drunk. You tried to take advantage of me, like I was some sorority girl, and you were a frat boy or something. And I basically stuck it to you. And Doug Gim wiped the floor with Andrew Landry, and you had to spend money in the shop. So, Pat, if you would please ship Tim's jacket to him as soon as possible, that would be nice. Did he order anything else, by the way? Did he get anything else, or did you just get the jacket? Did you see?
I mean, I can check, but I think I just saw the jacket.
Okay,
And he won tonight. I
that's
didn't
pretty
see
cheap.
any.
Pretty cheap. Okay.
Yeah, just the
Well,
jacket.
at
Just the
least
jacket.
at least he pays off his bets. All right, 6K range. Let's hit this pretty quick. I like this range. I said I like the studs and duds play at the top. I like Rahm and Finau up there. I like the 6K range. It's going to be tough. It's tough for me right now to narrow down some of the names. I'm going to have to do that come Thursday and definitely Wednesday night in the Nut Hut chat. But I think my favorite name in here for sure, I do have a favorite, and that's Luke List. Coming off a T21, I talked him up last week. Um, he's eighth in this field here, 12 rounds, Pat. That's how many rounds we have in the last 4 years at Torrey Pines South. He's played 12 rounds. That's actually really good. So he's eighth in the field in ball striking over that time. Now he can't putt, but that's Luke List. So, but coming off the T21 last week, I like him a lot at 6,800. I actually think he's got top 5 upside, which is obviously what you want down here. I like Harry Higgs at 6,900. He's also hit the ball pretty well here in limited rounds. He's got 3 rounds at Torrey Pines South, coming off a 32nd place finish at the Sony. So he kind of shook the rust off. I like something is drawing me to Patrick Rogers, which this happens a few times a year. It's like a herpes flare up. Like every now and then, a few times a year, you can count on it like Christmas. You're going to have a flare up of some Patrick Rogers if you're David Barnett. And for some reason, it's happening right now, and I don't like it. I'm trying to get some ointment for it, but I can't. It's not working. So there's something drawing me to him. I think it's because he's a long hitter and he can actually putt pretty well. And he's played pretty decent here and has some experience at Torrey Pines South at 6,800. I like the upside. Guys down here that I'm taking are going to be bombers that can be streaky and have upside. Along with that is Scott Stallings, who missed the cut last week, but on the number, and he's a winner here at Torrey Pines South. Has some confidence coming in. He hits the ball a long way. He's interesting. He's pretty cheap, too. He's 6,600. As low as I'm going to go, I'll give you one more name, is your boy, because you worshipped his old dad, Tyler McCumber at 6,400. I love him. He hits it a long way. He's a decent.
He's a bomber.
Putter.
You would not think it with his size and everything. You and I have both met him in person at a
clearly size
web.com.
doesn't matter. Size
I know, but he's small in stature. You wouldn't think he could bomb it like he can.
Yeah. All right. Who you got?
All right. So I will finish this up here, and I'll start up at the top with old Marty Laird at 6,900. I think he is. He's shown he can play this course well in the past. Hang on a second.
Oh.
I lost my spot there. Hang on.
Okay.
Calm down.
We're all calm. While you're doing that, on my soundboard, I did pull a sound from circa 2017 Tour Junkies when Pat was describing what may be going wrong with Smiley Kaufman mentally, while Pat sounded like he had something wrong with him mentally. So here was Pat's explanation.
Yeah, that's deep into the soul of his mind and personality, I think.
Deep into the soul of his mind and personality from one Pat Perry. Hard-hitting analysis. It's amazing that we actually grew a following from that.
Yeah, that was good stuff right there. But you know what? That's probably where it all started. Things like that, you know.
Yeah. All right.
The good insight there. So Marty Laird, yeah, I mean, you look at his last 5 years he's played here, made the cut 4 out of 5 years, had a top 10 back in 2016. So he has, played this course decent. Now, look, I know he's not the longest guy on tour, but you know what? That's okay. I'm okay with that. He's been in pretty good recent form. Marty is I think Marty's on my radar this week. I'm going to play him at 6,900. I think he could be a good tournament play. Now, going to the length deal, and we're going to talk about Wyndham Clark again this week. He is now. Absolute bomber. He's third in the field in driving distance. He's top 10 in the field in scrambling, putts well on POA greens, and also checks the box in par 5 scoring. I like some Wyndham Clark also. And then I'm going down in the 6,300 range, and I'm going to take our boy Taco Supreme, Will Gordon at $6,300.
No.
I'm going with Taco. Now, look, a lot of people don't know why we call him Taco Supreme, and that came up in the Nut Hut. So I came up with Taco Supreme because it's kind of like, and I'm not trying to hate on Taco Bell. I love me some Taco Bell, but here's the thing: you never know what you're going to get when you go to Taco Bell, and it's like an every 6-month thing for me. I'll go to Taco Bell and I'll be like, you know what? It's just pops in my head. I'm gonna go to a damn Taco Bell and I get the Taco Supreme, and I love it. It tastes so good going down, but you never know how it's gonna finish. You just don't know, and it's a gamble. It's a gamble, which is what you're doing with Will Gordon. But I like him this week at 6,300. We showed a little bit of form last week. I'll play him.
Put a little Taco and Herpes in your lineup at the same time in the same lineup.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do with old Taco Supreme. Okay. So there you go. Those are my 6K plays this week.
All right, let's